All right, let's talk about something that I'm betting a lot of us have felt, even if we don't really have a name for it. It's called fragmented sleep. We're going to explore why your brain can fail to recover, even after you've been in bed for a full night. So, let's get into it.
So, does this sound familiar at all? You've done everything right, you got your 8 hours, you went to bed on time, but you wake up and your brain just feels heavy, unfocused, kind of like it's still buffering, you know? It's an incredibly frustrating feeling, but as we're about to see, there's a very specific reason it happens. And look, for those of us who really rely on our mental sharpness, this is so much more than a small inconvenience. We have to start seeing sleep for what it is. It's not a lazy habit. It's an active, absolutely essential recovery mode for the mind. And when that process isn't working properly, your whole mental operating system is compromised. Okay, so let's put a name to this whole phenomenon. We're going to start by diagnosing what our source calls the offline brain problem.
Here's the core concept right here: fragmented sleep. See, this isn't about the quantity of hours you're in bed. It's all about the quality of those hours. Your body can be resting, but if your mind isn't actually completing its full recovery cycle, you're left with this major biological inefficiency. So to really understand why this inefficiency is so damaging, we've got to look at the science of how the brain does its nightly reboot. Let's dig into how it's supposed to work.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. This one idea completely reframes how we should think about sleep. We're all obsessed with getting 8 hours, but guess what? Our brains don't think in hours. They operate in 90-minute cycles. This is the real fundamental unit of measurement for a successful night's rest.
And inside each of those 90-minute cycles, your brain needs to hit two critical stages to get a full reboot. First, you've got deep sleep, which is mostly for physical repair. But then, there's the all-important REM sleep. This is where the real magic happens for your mind. It's processing information, storing memories, and even sparking creativity. And fragmentation is simply what happens when you get knocked out of these stages before the work is done.
So what is it that's interrupting these vital cycles? Well, it's time to meet the two main culprits, what we're calling the sleep saboteurs.
So on one hand, you have blue light from our screens. Its mechanism is purely physical. It literally blocks the release of melatonin, which is the hormone that tells your brain it's time to sleep. This keeps your mind trapped in that alert, beta state. Then you've got stress. For so many of us, our minds are just constantly running, right? We're simulating tomorrow's challenges, which keeps our nervous system too revved up to downshift into those deeper states needed for REM sleep.
This quote just nails the impact perfectly. Fragmented sleep is like trying to run a high-speed data center during a series of micro-power outages. Just imagine that. The lights might technically stay on, but those constant little interruptions, they prevent the deep background processing from ever actually finishing. The system never gets to run its updates or clear its cache.
So what happens when that data center can't run its updates? Well, there's a very real, very tangible price to pay. Let's take a look at the high cognitive cost of this system failure.
Here's another powerful way to think about it. Trying to perform at your peak after a night of fragmented sleep is like trying to build a high-performance system on a corrupted foundation. It doesn't matter how brilliant your ideas are, if the base is unstable, you're set up for failure before the day even gets going.
And the result of all this is a scientifically recognized state called sleep inertia. That's the technical term for that morning fog, that mental heaviness you feel. And we're not just talking about being a little tired for an hour. No, this is a diminished capacity to think clearly and solve problems that can literally hang around all day long.
Okay, so we've defined the problem, we've walked through the science, and we've seen the cost. So now, let's talk solutions. It's time to shift into a strategic recovery protocol.
And here's a simple but really powerful framework, the 3-2-1 power down rule. Okay, first step, number 1, signal safety. You need to actively help your brain transition from that alert, problem-solving beta state to a relaxed alpha state. Simple things like reading a physical book or listening to calm music. Number 2, disengage and disconnect. At least 2 hours before bed, stop the heavy-duty problem-solving and, this is huge, eliminate all screens. Let your brain release that melatonin naturally. And finally, step 3, protect the cycle. Once you're asleep, you've got to create an environment that protects those 90-minute sleep cycles from any interruptions. Make it dark, quiet, and cool so your brain can finally complete its recovery work.
And this brings us to our final, and maybe our most important idea. Taking control of your sleep isn't just about following some tactics. It's a fundamental shift in your mindset. You really have to become the architect of your own rest. So the next time you wake up in that mental fog, just remember, another cup of coffee is only patching a crack in the foundation. The real solution is to look at the underlying structure, the actual architecture of your rest and recovery process. And so, we'll leave you with this final question. Think about it. Would an architect ever try to build their masterpiece on a chaotic, constantly interrupted construction site? Of course not. Your mind is no different. To produce your best work, you have to first design and protect the clean, uninterrupted site where it can recharge and rebuild every single night.